Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
Welcome viewers, welcome back to the course on ESD, Education for Sustainable Development. So, today we will start a new topic, that is on sustainable education. So, these are some of the clippings that you can see. What do we mean by sustainable education? That is, it incorporates quality education, universal primary education, skill based education, then all kinds of things. So, that as SDG 4, that is the quality education, SDG 4 exclusively deals with this quality education, and just to uncover so many other aspects, we are primarily focusing on sustainable education. So, let us discuss about what sustainable education means actually. So, United Nations has already advocated that the education should be a clear priority. Education should be a clear priority, and quality education and equal access to education by all the stakeholders, by all the students across the globe, that is the primary objective of not only SDG 4, but United Nations all sustainable development goals. So, now here we can see that Higher Education Council, Higher Education Sustainability Initiative, that is the council that primarily highlights the role of higher education in building the better world for current and future generations. So, the Higher Education Sustainable Initiative raises that started on 20th October 20. So, it is as a primary driver for sustainable development and for building the inclusive society on the first day of the Global Education Meet of 2020. So, when the meeting was held on 20th October 2020, the Higher Education Sustainability Service Initiative Service Council has been initiated for as the main driver, as a flagship driver for achieving sustainable development goals and developing inclusive societies. So, as you can see, this is the Higher Education Council, Sustainable Initiative Council. Now, it advocates for ensuring the quality education. So, as we can see from this UNESCO website, also SDG 4, that is quality education. So, as we are discussing with sustainable education, automatically the SDG 4 quality education comes into our discussion. So, SDG 4, that is the goal 4 is the education related goal of the United Nations 2030 agenda, which aims to provide that for ensuring inclusive and equitable quality education and promote lifelong learning opportunities for all. So, quality education along with the lifelong learning opportunities for all, and it is the education in the 2030 framework of action plan is there. Again, it has the 7 other outcome targets. Under the SDG 4, these are some of the other outcome targets. First, like 4.1 SDG 4 and 4.1 target is that universal primary and secondary education by 2030. So, that we have to ensure that all the children, both boys and girls and across the age groups, they must get the access to quality education, primary education, secondary education, and also leading towards the effective learning outcomes with equitable access to learning materials to quality education. So, that is the target 4.1, that is the universal primary secondary education. Now, second is that early childhood development and universal pre-primary education, early childhood development and universal pre-primary education by 2030, that is the target of 4.2. Just to ensure that all the children irrespective of gender, they have the access to quality early childhood education, that is preschool education, early childhood education, care, pre-primary education, as all these things would be accessible to all the children across the globe by 2030. So, that is the 4.2 for early childhood development and universal pre-primary education. The next 4.3, that is equal access to technical, vocational and higher education. Again, by 2030 we have to ensure that all our stakeholder, all our men, women, youth, children, they must have the affordability and towards the quality technical and vocational education, tertiary education, including the university and higher education, university higher education. So, we have to ensure that equal access, equal success and access to the technical and vocational at the higher education level, and across the generation, across all ages of the stakeholders. So, that is the 4.3. So, again 4.4 is relevant skills for the decent work by 2030. So, now in the global workplace, many different types of diverse types of technical and vocational skills, competencies and employment skills are required, which are to be learned by our youth, our children, our students. So, we have to identify what are the relevant skills that is required for the decent works available in this across the globe by 2030, and how to achieve this. So, in terms of relevant skills for entrepreneurship, for technical education, for vocational education, and for entrepreneurship skills and competencies, and all kinds of startup business, all kinds of research and innovation activities. So, we have to identify all these relevant skills are important for getting the decent work in this globalized world, and to achieve it, or to train our manpower, to train our students, youth and people to be competent, to be competent for for getting into this kind of achievement, decent jobs, global decent jobs by 2030. Then 4.5 is the gender equality and inclusion. Yes, of course. Now, India being a diverse country, having the different background, cultural background, regional differences, their linguistic differences, etc. We have the disparities also are there. The social disparities are there. So, we have to ensure that that means education should be accessible to, quality education should be accessible to all children across the age group, across the gender. So, here we cannot say the gender equality, especially boys and girls, all of them they should get equal access to quality education, vocational training, and there should not, that means we have to eliminate all kinds of gender disparities in education and equal access to quality education. So, even it also includes the persons with differential abilities, that is having some disadvantage of impoverishments, or that means backward, that means staying in the backward areas of remote areas, or having some difficulties, physical difficulties, disabilities and differential abilities. Sometimes also the indigenous people, local people, children, those who are residing in the very rural, remote areas, or the vulnerable situations, like coastal areas or some other kinds of remote areas, they should also get the equal access to quality education. Hence, we have to ensure that by 2030 our society would be an inclusive society, where every individual, every citizen, every child, every human being should get the access to quality education, irrespective of race, ethnic background, location, geographical context, then gender, etc., whatever may be the factor. Then by 4.6, it advocates for the universal youth literacy by 2030. So, we have to ensure that all the youth and substantial portion of the adult, both men and women, those who are not actually literate. So, we have to ensure that they achieve the literacy and numeracy up to the basic level, up to the minimum level or basic level. Similarly, 4.7 we have already discussed earlier. 4.7 is that citizenship education for sustainable development. It advocates for not only ESD, education for sustainable development, but also global citizenship. Global citizenship, all the but by 2030 we have to ensure that all the learners, they must acquire knowledge and skills needed to promote the sustainable development, how they should behave like a global citizen, what are the roles and responsibilities of being a global citizen, and how through education sustainable development can be achieved through adopting right kind of attitude and maintaining the human rights and gender equality, then adopting the sustainable lifestyle, sustainable consumption, sustainable production, then promote the culture of peace, non-violence, and appreciation of the cultural diversity and of culture's contribution towards the sustainable development. So here we have to ensure that not that all the citizens are being trained and educated as to play the role of a global citizen, but they must also ensure to safeguard their cultural diversity, their indigenous cultures, their human rights, their equality, gender equality, then their quality of life, sustainable lifestyle. We have to, that means, develop this kind of habit pattern among our citizens to play the active role as a global citizen. And what are the responsibilities and roles and responsibilities and duties of global citizen? They must learn to behave, learn to adopt those kind of skills, competencies and the behaviors, so that they can properly behave like a global citizens to achieve the sustainable development for India across the globe, but primarily for India, then after that across the globe by 2030. Okay. So, being the global citizen, definitely we have the global roles to play, but at the same time we have to also safeguard our cultural diversity, indigenous practices, indigenous knowledge, indigenous values and cultural practices, that we have to also safeguard it. So, that means by this not only will be able to develop an inclusive society, culturally diverse society, inclusive society, but also we will be able to develop a kind of sustainable society. So, here three means of implementation. So, how we are going to implement this SDG 4's basic that means basic aim, that is for the achieving quality education and lifelong education, and including all its targets, all its 7 targets. So, the three means of implementations are like, for example, first is that to creating the effective learning environment. So, here as we all of us we know that in sustainable development diagram, that triangle, the people, planet and prosperity, 3 are the basic things. So, here people, planet, here you can say the learning environment, the learning ecosystem. Okay. So, how can we ensure to develop an effective learning environment, and which build and upgrade the education facilities that are for the children, for the people with differential abilities, the disabilities, for gender sensitive sensitive facilities would also be given to them, provided, like girls provide safety, then safety and non-violence and inclusive and effective learning environments, and equal access and opportunity for all the for all gender category students, for all. So, in terms of creating a safe and healthy and conducive learning environment, what are the basic infrastructures required, the facilities required, then the values and the rules and regulations and policies to be adopted, that we have to ensure. So, effective learning environment, or you can say teaching learning ecosystem, or learning ecosystem, that is first and foremost, that is one of the implementation target. Then second is that scholarship by 2030, like for example, substantially expand the globally and number of scholarship available to the developing countries. Usually the developing countries where the children or the citizens are poor enough, are poor not to, and they couldn't afford the higher education fees and the quality education admission, enrollment in reputed universities, etc. So, for enrollment in higher education, including vocational training, technical education, information in IT also, technical engineering, scientific programs also. So, for them different kinds of scholarships to be introduced, especially in developing countries, to encourage the students, to encourage the people, encourage the citizens to excel in the studies and to go abroad or to get admission in reputed institutes for building their career and contributing towards the society. So, that is the scholarship, as maximum scholarship available for the children from the developing countries, students from the developing countries. Now, the government has also initiated so many schemes, Prime Minister scholarship schemes, then Indo-German, that means inter university, like in UK our MOUs with joint programs, academic programs with universities from UK, universities from US, Australia. So, these kind of joint academic programs, research programs, scientific programs, MSc, MTech programs, that also promotes, that means that motivates, that promotes the facilities for motivating the children from the poor background, poor economic, socio-economic background, that is to to excel in studies, to make hard work and to excel these in studies, and to get into this get into the admission of this higher education in different institutions across the globe. So, the third component is that is the teachers and educators. How the teachers and educators should be properly trained by 2030. So, that means we can create a resourceful manpower to train our to educate our citizens, to educate our children, etc. Because the teachers, the educators, the trainers, they are they are the mentors, you can say they are the mentor. So, we must have the enough supply of the qualified teachers with right aptitude, with right training, with right through introducing all kinds of international cooperation for teacher training, online training, both in developing countries and especially in the least developed countries and some poor countries, etc. So, how to how to create the large number of supply of qualified teachers, educators and trainers to educate our citizens, to educate our children, to educate our youth, not only in the formal mode of education, but in formal mode, non-formal mode, technical and professional education as well. So, these we can say these are the three pillars of the implementation. First is that effective ecosystem, second is that financial support to be provided in terms of scholarship, and third is the teachers and educators who are going to be the mentors and facilitators for achieving these SDGs of the quality education for our next generation or current population. So, this is, we can say this is a one page summary of ESD framework. So, how ESD should look like or should act or should be executed, implemented, that is the by 2030. So, ESD for 2030 framework look like this, like for example, education for sustainable development towards achieving the SDGs, all the SDGs, not just SDG 4, SDGs for 2030. Okay. So, ESD is the key tool. So, here we can say we can see that global action, so vision is that the global action programs that has been initiated 2015 to 19 and ESD for 2030, which starts from 20 to 30 again. Okay. So, here the vision is like ESD for 2030 aims to build the more and just and sustainable world. Okay. More just and sustainable world through strengthening the ESD, and contributing to the achievements of all the SDG sustainable development goals. So, ESD has to be strengthened in such a way that it acts as a key component, it acts as a parameter, it acts as a key component, key tool for enabling us, for empowering our citizens to achieve all the SDGs for our country, not only for our country, across the globe. So, ESD, the vision is that how ESD for 2030 aims to build more just and sustainable world, not just in South Asian context or in the one part of the world, but across the globe, contributing towards the achievement of all 17 sustainable development goals through empowering people, through enriching us through different kinds of knowledge, skills and competencies, etc., and empowering us and enabling us and enabling our country, our government, our state, our infrastructure, our administration for achieving these 17 goals by 2030. That is the vision. Then what are the priority actions areas? So, yes, definitely, then as we have already discussed, the learning environment is very important. So, here how to transform the learning environment. So, we have to develop the learning environment which would be transforming in nature, transforming learning environment which can bring the complete transformation not only within our students, our children, our youth, but in the outcome, learning outcome as well. Okay. So, building the capacities of the educators. So, educators from time to time through different training, orientation, intervention, workshops, etc., we have to enhance the capacities and capabilities of the educators, so that the educational effectiveness and efficiency can be enhanced. So, and again empowering and mobilizing the youth. Yes, definitely youth is the major source of, you can say, of manpower, is the major human resource in our country. So, how to empower and mobilize the youth? In order to mobilize the youth with right kind of potentialities, we have to train them, we have to motivate them, we have to educate them, so that they will learn the new skills, competencies, etc., and entrepreneurship skills, so that they feel they would be more empowered to exercise and to mobilize their resources. So, empowering and mobilizing youth through different kinds of, introducing different kinds of entrepreneurship training, startups, financial supports, then skill development programs, competencies, so and so. So, empowering and mobilizing the youth. And next, fifth is accelerating the local level actions, even at the local level, not just in the regional and state level, but in the local level, panchayat level, village level. So, the local actions should also be accelerated, whatever they are engaged in, the types of jobs, the works, the employment, their the handicrafts, or their local indigenous knowledge practices, or the professional practices they are engaged in. We have to promote that also, accelerating in the local action level. So, like in every region, every local area, every community, in every village, they are having some kind of traditional knowledge and skills and competencies, etc. We have to promote those things, because that can become their source of their livelihood. So, these are the 5 major areas, the primary action research areas, that is transforming the learning environment, which can enable us to achieve the sustainable development goals, building the capacities of our educators, trainers, teachers, etc., empowering and mobilizing youth through different kinds of skill development programs, competency development programs, and accelerating the local level actions by promoting the indigenous knowledge, practices, and the skills. Then at the same time, then what should be the strategic objective? So, here definitely the strategic object becomes that how to promote the ESD as a key element for quality education, how to promote the ESD as a key element for education, and it would be the key enabler of all the 17 SDGs, with the special attention to individual transformation, social transformation, and technological advancement. So, here when we talk about the sustainable and just societies, to develop an inclusive, just and sustainable society means there will be the individual transformation, that individuals personality traits, attributes, skills, competencies, mindsets, abilities, efficiency and self competencies, everything would be completely 300-degree transformed. So, that is, we have to confirm the individual transformation, thereafter slowly towards the community transformation or social transformation. So, definitely in a community, if all the individual human beings get transformed, automatically the society, the community will be transformed. So, we have to gradually, slowly and smoothly move towards the individual transformation first, then social transformation, and of course, we have to update ourselves in the technological advances, because technology is again like education, technology is also the key tool, is an infrastructure, you can say it plays a very vital role, especially in this period of pandemic. Technological enhancement, technological upgrading can only help us, in all our daily transactions, business transaction, academic transactions, all kinds of socio-economic activities. So, we have to also keep pace with the global technological advancement, and we have to update it. So, these are 3 primary objectives, as we can see. One is the individual transformation, social transformation at the community level, then technological advancement. And the target groups are, you can say target groups are all the stakeholders, both the direct and indirect stakeholders, but exclusively we can see policy makers, you can see the policy makers, institutional leaders, learners, parents, educators, youth and community members, communities. So, almost all the stakeholders are there. So, they are the target group. But yes, we have to, according to the need of the different target groups, we have to customize all these things, the training required for the teachers, the training required for the policy makers or the leaders or the learners and the youth. We have to customize it as per their age, their developmental stage, their requirement and their skills and competencies. So, this is the, you can say, one page summary of, you can say, ESD framework, one page summary of ESD framework. So, this is again an activities by member states country level multi stakeholder initiative again. So, this the one page how to achieve the whatever the targets and focus and the action plans that we have designed, but how to achieve it. So, it cannot be achieved, it is not achievable by only by government or state organizations or only by teachers or educational institutions. It is not possible by one category of audience or stakeholders. It has therefore, it has to that means it has to be operated for, it has to function with the multi stakeholder initiative. The multi stakeholder initiative is that we have to develop a framework where all types of stakeholders, direct, indirect and different categories, different groups of stakeholders, they participate, they play active role, they participate, they interact and they develop and with this framework they interact and they together they would achieve the goal. So, for example, first maybe that we can say the first stakeholder will be the policy makers, definitely first stakeholder is the policy makers, because at the administration level, planning commission level. So, they are the major stakeholders. So, integrating how to ESD can be integrated in the global, regional, national policy of education and sustainable development. So, it has to be implemented from the top level, at the ministry level, at the government level, that is all these policies of ESD, SDGs should be included in the educational policies at the top level. Then next is that create the learning environment. Learning environment, that is we have already discussed that how to develop a conducive ecosystem for quality learning, for peaceful learning, for learning with with right kind of attitude, learning about peace education, non-violence, all kinds of the global skills, citizenship, behavior, all kinds of. So, promoting the learning environment, that is ecosystem of the education environment, but it can be achieved with a holistic approach. If we can focus on the overall holistic or harmonious growth and development of the whole environment, so then only it will be possible. It is not possible to achieve only through content, with good content or good quality teachers or good infrastructure. No, it is not possible. So, we have to promote the whole institution approach. The whole institution approach advocates that we have to look into the each and every corner, A to Z of learning environment or academic environment, that is starting from our infrastructures to teacher training, to outreach programs, to community engagement, to learners and teachers in individual needs, access to quality education, learning outcome, everything A to Z. So, that can only be achieved by promoting the whole institution approach. That means the holistic approach, whole institution approach can only ensure us, can only enable us to promote the learning environment as a whole. Then yes, of course, the third category of stakeholders, the educators. Educators, they are they are the knowledge givers, they are the facilitators, they are the mentors, they are the trainers. So, providing from time to time, you have to also enhance their capacity. So, capacity building programs, providing capacity development programs, opportunities through different kinds of refresher courses, orientation courses. From time to time, our educators should be given this kind of training, education, and the opportunities for upgrading their skills, technological skills, subject skill, and be updated up to the latest disciplinary knowledge or interdisciplinary research, all kinds of things. So, to invest on the educators in terms of that need assessment, development, training, education, upgradation of the skills, and giving them the opportunity to perform and excel. So, that is third category. Then the fourth category of stakeholder is considered the youth. So, definitely youth is our major human resource or manpower. So, providing opportunities for youth engagement. It is not just enough to train them through different kinds of skills and competency development training programs, but also to engage them in very positive and constructive activities. So, for how to engage them, we have to give them the opportunities, we have to give them the kind of facilities, we have to give them the infrastructure. So, maybe we have to give them some kind of, either we have to create more jobs, employment opportunities, or we have to give them the financial help to start their own business. So, nowadays it is again the small and medium level entrepreneurships or small business ventures are also promoted, are also encouraged, so that the youth can find out their own employment or engagement opportunity. So, self-employment opportunities. So, that is the youth is another the major category, fourth major category of stakeholder. Then of course, at last the next is the community as a whole, the local community, the the regional community, state community. So, all the communities at every level. So, the community is as a nodal platform for all the priorities of action areas. When we want to introduce anything, be it the learning, holistic learning environment, development of whole learning development with whole institution approach, or educators, or youth programs, or policy implementation, everything, it is going to be again it is going to be implemented only at the community level. That means, community will be direct beneficiary of this. So, how to empower the local communities, like we have the other nodal agencies in the community, local community, who also actively participate in this process, like our panchayats are there, health units are there, then block development officer is there, then self-help groups who are working in the group, then the senior citizens who are the active members. So, the local communities play as an active nodal agency platform to interlink, to interact, to interact and get the and coordinate with all these kind of stakeholders. So, so that with this multi-stakeholder partnership or initiative, then we can we can ensure that yes, our community is moving ahead towards the SDGs, our community is developing, community well-being, welfare programs are happening, events are happening, and all our citizens are gradually becoming more and more sustainable citizens of the society. So, here we can say at the country level, the again there can be these are the categories of the, we can say, the stakeholder, multi-stakeholders, but here at the different levels also, like country level multi-stakeholder initiatives on ESD. It can be related to normal routine guidelines, country level support, etc. Similar, inclusive network partners, partners, they can provide the regular platform to meet, exchange, like for time to time meeting in between the health professionals, education professionals, and the community people, or with the panchayats. So, regular meetings, regular workshops, regular awareness programs. So, how to organize this? They have to include it in the network. And monitoring and evaluation from time to time, maybe quarterly monitoring towards the towards the achievements in the top 5 priority actions that we have already discussed. Actions, what is the improvement, progress being made, and then program of implementation, whether it is going in the right way or not, whether it aligns with the SDG targets of 4.7 or not, that we have to evaluate it, monitor it from time to time. Then communication for action, communicating action, that is yes. So, after getting the feedback from timely evaluation, then we have to develop a dedicated program, that is to inform about the SDGs and the role of education. So, how far we have proceed, what is the feedback, what is the current status, and how we should move ahead, what should be the pace and strategy for moving towards the SDGs, as the deadline is 2030. And in this context, what would be the major role of the education? That from time to time we have to evaluate it and strategically revise it also. Then monitor emerging issues and trends and mobilize the resources to support ESD implementation. But from time to time, again, evidence based informed implementation, maybe that some kind of emergency, some challenges are also coming up. So, in that context, how to update ourselves. So, evidence that is the informed implementation and resource mobilization. So, not only that, whatever we are having the existing resources, we have to mobilize it in the right direction to boost ESD, to support ESD, but at the same time we have to also face and mitigate the emerging challenges. Like for example, suddenly like for example this pandemic can be challenge, a disaster, natural disaster can be a challenge. So, we have to develop our preparedness to face this kind of emerging challenges also from time to time. So, this is the UNESCO, this has been supported by all the member states of UNESCO, and this is the framework, and it has given the guideline that how we can adopt this multi-stakeholder partnership model to move towards all our 17 SDGs by 2030 with ESD as a key tool, key weapon, etc. So, with the global target action plans, with the strategies and everything. So, this is the framework given by UNESCO and we can follow it. So, now I am completing it this lecture right now here only. So, in the next class we will continue. Thank you.